Welcome to another edition of A Strange New Pod. I am your captain and host, Julian Brown, and no, I don't like Anomaly Consolidation Day either. It sucks. Just don't sign up for it ever. Joining me, as always, is the best bridge crew this side of the Sol system, the board queen of puns, and most likely to actually enjoy said Anomaly Consolidation Day, Lieutenant Brittany, and Lieutenant Hawk, who would absolutely give a rousing captain speech on board the Enterprise D. We know it's true. And also joining us, our very special guest tonight from the Promenade Merchants podcast, David Majors. Welcome to the show.
Yay!
Thank you so much for having me. I called first dibs on the sonic shower after the consolidation.
Nice.
Ooh, yeah, you need a sonic shower after that.
I do.
Yeah, you touched some nasty things in there. Yeah.
Sonic the Hedgehog shower.
Oh,
I'm all about the crossover.
Make
Honestly,
sure you clean it so there aren't any rings. What?
As a Sonic fan and a Star Trek fan, Star Trek Day was the greatest night of my life.
Oh, the whole Sonic thing. That was so funny. Like, are we going to get sued? I'm like, no, it's Paramount. It's Paramount. We're all under the same umbrella.
It might happen. You never know.
No,
I need it. I need it.
They're going to do some like magic Star Trek mushrooms on an episode of Lower Decks one day, and Sonic's just going to be like zipping around the Lower Decks. And we're like, oh,
or they're going to eat a chili dog, and it's just going to be vaguely implied.
Right.
You know? Or they'll mention some planet they went to. Remember that blue hedgehog planet? That was so weird.
Yeah, with the
Mobius.
Gold rings. Yes. To our Twitch collective, keep the comments and questions coming all night long. We love to hear from you. David, before we get started, we always like when we have a new guest on to put the, starship running lights on you, put you, front and center. So we are asking you your favorite Trek.
12 lights. There are 12 lights.
There's like 50 lights on a ship, right?
Broke them easily.
Yeah. So favorite Trek, favorite episode, and your favorite character.
Favorite Trek, Deep Space Nine. Favorite episode, the two-parter. Favorite, The Bold and Sacrifice of Angels. Yes, it's a two-parter. Do not get nitpicky with me. I don't care. Favorite character, that changes from day to day, maybe from podcast to podcast. So this time around, I'll say Will Riker.
Ooh.
Oh, okay. Catching us off guard.
You pulled a maneuver there.
You did. Yeah.
Nice.
Find out about in the outtakes later on. Awesome. I love your choices. I love the conviction. Before we get into our show, let's hear a little bit about your show, Promenade Merchants podcast.
The Promenade Merchants podcast, Julian, is a independent Star Trek podcast. We like to call ourselves the cool, scrappy underdog Star Trek podcast,
nice.
Where my fantastic co-host Heather Kirby shares her love of Star Trek and talks about what it means to her, and I make really bad jokes.
Like me.
Hey, it's like a match made in heaven.
That's why we're going to be friends now.
Love it. We cover old business, classic Star Trek, new business, what's happening in Star Trek right now, and upcoming business, where we look, pun always intended, to Star Trek Beyond. And
hey,
and we try and be in and out for 40 minutes or so. So it's just long enough for you to walk around the promenade, get yourself an Icoberry tort, and relax with us about every 2 weeks or so.
As I was writing our outline, I was going to make a joke about like walking the promenade and I always forget the weird meat looking things on a stick on DS9, or like the starts with a D, I thought, like a Dodge It stick or something.
Dodge It, yes.
Or something like that. That's probably
Dodge It
wrong.
Stick. You can get an
Some people
Icoberry
dodge
tort.
it and go straight for the Zabo stool, but what do I know?
You can have a double Ractigino if you're feeling like you need an energy kick.
2 shots.
You can hang out with the Dabo girls and play a game of Dabo or 7. It's all good.
Alex on the money on Twitch. It is a Jumja stick. Jumja stick. Thank you, Talix. Awesome.
Bless up.
Yeah. This week, guys, it's fun. Anomalies. They're everywhere. What happens when Tendi volunteers Mariner and Rutherford Consolidation Day? Spoilers, some bad shit happens. And when the Red Shirt crew, very poorly named, recruit Boimler for another chance at the fast track to promotion, how does Bradword react? We're going to talk about it all. But before we do get into that and the strange new loop, Brittany, we need to thank our Patreon collective at the Ready Room level and above.
Oh, we going to thank them today. So special thanks to our wonderful patrons, a lot of you over in the Discord. And you're probably watching right now, so thank you so much to Simon Steger, Jeff Reeve, Mariah Gossett, Spotted Giraffe, Rob, Jen Stein, Tina Alexander, Joe Saporito, Noe Santos, Kang Hui, JD, Takago Nagumo, Kara Kennedy, Mark, Fernanda Nogales, SMK, Ian Davies, and our newest collective member, Amy Grace.
Woo!
Welcome
Thank
to the
you.
collective.
Guys, we're getting close to that dreaded 25 mark.
We're
where
getting
we
close enough to build, like, to actually fit a board cube with people. Let's do it.
That's a big ship, though.
I know, it's like a billion things.
David, if you don't know,
We'd be a maintenance crew. We'd be low
a
decks.
toy.
if you don't know, when we get to 25 patrons, we're going to sing a very rousing rendition of Faith of the Heart live on the show. So
Allegedly, rousing.
Love it.
That's
I'll
the
be here
plan.
for it. I want the invite and I want to be here for it.
We can make that happen. Totally.
Yeah.
We will keep you in the loop. That was almost a perfect transition, but I have to say the
Speaking of
whole
which-
other spiel about finding out more about our Patreon collective and how to join, just head to strangenewbod.com. We just launched our blog. One of our awesome Discord members, Lexi, wrote a great article about the
Lexi.
not quite official, but almost official Starfleet Academy series that we might be getting. And that was a really good article. And just hit that join the collective tab. This month's Drunk Space 9 episode actually just dropped the other day from August, back to school month and everything. Kind of ruined me getting that out right in August. So I apologize for that, but it's out. Enjoy it. It's fun. Speaking of loops, guys, it is that lovely time where they get strange, they get new, and they get loopy. It's the Strange New Loop. And this week, the question is, and of course to Twitch, let us know your answers as well. If you were a lower decker and had to volunteer the rest of us, your fellow bridge crew here, or lower deckers, for a specific starship assignment, what would it be and why? You could tell us not why if you want. You could just say this, and you don't get to ask why. Don't all talk at once.
Yeah.
I know,
I
it's a
feel
hard
like
one. It's a hard one.
Julian, I'd assign you to Cetacean Ops.
Me, that would be like Eric's job. Eric would die to go to Cetacean
Okay.
Ops.
I'll do it to Eric. That's one of my choices. I'm going to think more for the rest of you.
Okay.
I decided that we would do the Replicator taste testers. Whenever new dishes are
Nice.
added to the Replicator, good or bad, it could be a chocolate souffle, it could be Neelix's rootin' tootin' chili, but it'd be up to us to judge how they are.
Mm.
Or possibly
Nice.
some dung beetle pie.
Pretty legit.
Ooh, yeah. Like it's like going into one of those bags of jelly babies, or what are they called? Jelly bellies, and getting like the really nasty flavored ones.
Yeah.
Never know what's gonna
Grub
come out.
pad thai or something.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
I got to think of something real good now.
I'm gonna go while you guys are still thinking. I would make us all do transporter phase variance duty and see what awful clones of each other come out of it, and if they're mirror universe clones or like, I don't know, just ones that have little like minor differences. Like I'd have more hair and maybe not a beard. Hawk would definitely have hair. Brittany, I think, would still just be Brittany with just more puns.
Yep. Easily.
But yeah, transporter variance phase duty. Yes, that's mine.
You know what? I'd make everybody set up chairs for whenever they do those live concerts.
The concertos.
Just like we
worst
have to be the
job.
setup and cleanup crew every time there's a talent show or a concert.
That's what they had in mind when they called it a concerto.
Oh,
I have
you
an
gotta tow
idea.
those chairs right across the room.
I almost hit the wrong button. You get one of these on your first appearance on the show.
Get off my bridge.
It's an honor. It's a privilege.
It is. Let's go to Twitch. Talik says vacuuming tribbles because I love that sound. It's a good sound. NY Rally going bold. Holodeck cleanup to teach everyone about safe holodeck use. Remember to clear your browser history, folks. It's really important. Sci-Fi Haven Gaming. I would want to have you guys in charge of the DJ for the music playing across the intercom system on the ship. Is there music playing on a starship? Is there like elevator music
Discovery?
throughout?
Probably should be.
That's true.
But on Discovery, they actually had a party. So
Yeah.
like a party
Yeah.
party, not a
Concerto.
Enterprise D orchestra
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Oh man.
That is it for Twitch. I think that was good for a Strange Loop. I liked it, and see what awful things we would do to each other.
I didn't go.
Hawk, you didn't go?
No.
I haven't gone yet.
Damn, I'm an asshole.
Julian's like,
Go
we
ahead.
have less people.
I know it's like weird. Go ahead.
Throwing him
Hawk.
off.
I could leave, but
No.
Load of
I-
impulse. We're good.
We're good.
I would try to inject a little fun into it. Now, in the course of various jobs, there's sometimes, some refresher courses you have to do for worker safety, stuff like that. Well, if I had to assign the crew to some sort of duty, it would be a refresher course on anti-grav combat training.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Yeah, so we can go
First
outside with our
contact.
boots.
Phaser rifles or metless?
Oh, why not both?
Why not both? A blade and a phaser. It's all you need. I love it.
Mhm.
I love it. Takako goes, how about staffing the ship's gift shop? I mean, that's everybody's dream job,
Dude.
right?
I love that this episode where they mentioned the gift shop. I was like, I would love that job.
I think the Galactica had a gift shop. So if the Galactica had a gift shop, Federation vessels
The
have to have a gift shop.
Galactica definitely did because they were about to retire. Right?
Yeah.
They're just making it into like a
Yeah.
museum.
The Enterprise D was basically a luxury hotel
ship,
in
yeah.
space. It definitely had a gift shop.
It had
For sure.
a daycare.
Would you imagine the
Wesley's
insurance
sweater was
claim
probably from there.
on the Enterprise D? Like the amount of times that it's supposed to be a luxury liner and they get attacked and
Mhm.
pieces of the ship fall off. I mean, luckily insurance probably doesn't exist in the 24th
Oh.
century because
There's like a star base like every 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah. You guys have less kids on the ship this time. What happened? Nothing. Everything's fine. Everything's good.
Womp womp womp.
Yep. All right,
Happy
guys.
Picard Day.
Happy Captain Picard Day. It is Lower Deck Season 2, Episode 6. We are now into the back half of the season. The Spy Humongous. It's our review of the episode. We'll go for our initial thoughts. And David, as our guest, hit it. Go ahead first. What do you think about this episode?
I enjoyed this episode quite a bit. For me, it was a pretty good bounce back from last week's episode. And I think that this episode really highlights how the Packlids were the perfect choice, a real stroke of brilliance for the nemesis bad guy aliens on lower decks and the nemesis bad guys for the Cerritos, because they are still very much the alien bad guys in Star Trek tradition, but they are also ripe for jokes and shenanigans, which makes it perfect for lower decks. The running gag of, I don't have a big enough hat for that, was really good, and especially with Captain Janeway, Freeman's reactions. I thought that was
Nice.
really, really well done.
Janeway.
Bit of a controversial take. One thing, the reason I said that this was kind of a bounce back episode for this episode, because last week's episode and the one before that, I've always been a bit back and forth on Ensign Mariner. There are some times where I really like her, and then there are times where I'm like, I'm kind of glad she got what she had coming. I'm glad to see something blow up in her face. And this episode, I'm glad to have come back around on her. Also, Ensign Tendi, kind of a theme for this season so far is that we're seeing a lot more emotional depth and growth from Tendi, and really liking that so far. The B plot with Boimler hanging out with the red shirts, terrible name as it is. I think the B plot had a really good message about Star Trek itself that I hope doesn't get lost on people, in that it's about more than giving speeches and looking good in a uniform and sitting in a chair. There's more to Star Trek to that. It's about doing the work and living up to the ideals of Starfleet and the Federation. There's more than just the green aliens and the pew-pews, everybody, to Star Trek.
We love a good pew pew.
The pew-pews are good, but there's more to it than that. And quite frankly, for the record, as a noted Jennifer stan, as a noted stan of Jennifer the
We love
Andorian,
We love Jennifer on this show.
I was a little disappointed to see her hanging out with the red shirts, but she did come around because we stan Jennifer.
She does do yoga.
Yes.
She does.
Oh,
Yeah.
Jennifer.
I like what you said about Tendi, though, because Tendi, I feel like everybody who's like grown this season so far, and especially last episode, like Tendi is still the one I think that like needs to grow the most because she's so insecure and she wants so much so quickly. And that was very evident in this episode. And the fact that she's like, I need to calm down. And I really like that we got that moment in this episode. Brittany, you're up.
So I had a really bad week. And watching this episode, like I enjoyed it because I just needed some humor. I know that this one's kind of one of those mixed episodes where some people really liked it or, kind of liked it. Other people just really didn't feel it. I liked the references that were in it. I loved that, like the whole concept of one of these Pac-Leg guys being on the ship and like, it's so obvious that he's a spy and like Ransom and Kayshawn have that little like, they know what's going on and they kind of like try to lead him on. It's so funny.
Speaking
of
like, so good to see Kayshawn back, right?
Yeah, definitely. And it was just neat to have that little like side plot where they're trying to deal with the Pac-Leds in like a very Picard way. They're like, let's be super diplomatic about this, and obviously they allude to that. But like the Pac-Leds are that sort of group where you're poking fun at them because they're written to be so kind of like stupid in a way. But I think it added to like the humor of the episode where, like you said, every time they were like, well, I don't have the authority to do that because like I don't have a helmet big enough to do that. And you're always like waiting, you're like, who is the higher up? And then like the queen comes in and you're like, this is definitely gonna be it this time. And she's like, my hat's not big enough. The king, his hat's not big enough. The emperor. And then you're just like,
revolution.
You still think she's Janeway, so like I don't know what.
And stab.
Yeah,
it's so good. But I love how like Freeman in the end still manages to get the information because she's like, you're right. You're such a good spy. I wouldn't know. Why don't you tell me what you hid from me? And he's just like, there you go. And nobody in the room realized. Like no one. It's fantastic. But as for the other plot of the episode, I liked getting to see them do like different tasks because this is another task you wouldn't have thought of, but like I guess somebody has to do this. So once again, you have the lower decks crew doing something, and it was just fun to see like all these weird objects and like it's stuff that I don't necessarily know was even referencing anything, but it was just fun to see. Yeah. And I like the dynamic of like Boimler left in true Boimler fashion to go, pursue leadership stuff, but you can tell he's changed enough where he's not ever really going to choose that over his friends.
No.
So I was never worried at all during the episode. But to see that nice connection between him and Tendi at the end of the episode, because they're one of those dynamics that hasn't really happened yet. But the fact that he knew what was going on, like she must have touched a sphere or a cube or whatever, and it made her this way, and I know what she needs to get better, and he just makes her laugh. And sometimes you need that. You could be in a place where, you're not in a good state. And then a friend just makes you laugh at something stupid. And then it makes you feel better or forget about something for a little bit. So it was just nice to see that happen and that he handled it so well that, Ransom pointed out at the end, he just showed that, what you did in the cafeteria was important and it was like a real leader maneuver. And the fact that he didn't even pay attention to the other guy, he's like, yeah, whatever, go in there. That cracked me up when Shaq sat down. He's like, shift change. Oh,
get out of my seat. Yeah, such an honor, sir.
I like that.
And I like that they set it up at the beginning of the episode when like he spills his porridge all over himself, right? And Tendi's just like the way you fell. And right, and that's what is like the solution. Yeah, the face. Yeah, that's right. And that's like the solution at the end of the episode. That's a great moment.
They didn't spill the beans, at least.
Yeah, right.
No.
You know who did? The spy. It's all connected.
Continuity, baby.
Yep.
It's all
about
Star.
The show is all about continuity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hawk, you're up.
Man, I'm gonna be such a show, but like it just continues to be a great show, and this is just another example of that. I think some people might have complained that are we going backwards in the show a bit? I think they're just falling back into their natural rhythm in that, and they have a really good rhythm in the show. Boimler kind of bouncing on the crew and that to go hang out with the red shirts and that and learn leadership. Not skills, but just facade.
Yeah, like the little cult that leadership usually is places.
Yeah, the guy is
I
just
do
an
think
actor.
you should keep
He's
the
an actor.
haircut. The haircut was good.
No, I like
No,
When he said like what they do to Riker's pants to make more room, and they were like, and he was like, for his legs,
the
you know?
legs. The
he's
legs.
tall.
It's like
You know,
he had to be able to maneuver over that chair.
There is a reason they have a big Horga and a little Horga, though. So I mean, just saying. Oh,
Kids these days talking about orgasms. What?
Boimler's hair was cool, but I mean, it's not Boimler.
Yeah, it's true. You never know. He might have to keep it.
I love that Mariner was impressed by him. He managed to get out of the work detail, and she was actually pretty impressed.
Yeah.
With that.
well, I do
Why
like
didn't I
that
think
too.
of that?
Like, it wasn't just like, oh, he's abandoning us again. It was like, oh, if I had the opportunity, I probably would have done that.
Totally would have
too.
done that.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
nicely, so nicely sidesteps the whole thing about the animosity between them from him leaving. You know, this could have been seen as him, like, you know, just, you know, working his way back up to, you know, whatever, another promotion, going off to another ship. But she's like,
yeah.
nice skills.
Mhm.
The Packlets, yes, they are officially the lead nemesis in this, but are they really the lead nemesis?
No.
No,
They are only
I-
because like the Cerritos can't get above things like that, you know?
But it
Unfortunately.
works. It really works.
It does work.
So
It does.
Their society is in such chaos now. They're basically just children at play in that. Even like, you know,
Yeah.
their leadership was just, I am the strongest now. But I think this is leading to the season finale, and that we're going to find out who's pulling the strings behind the Packlets and that, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not naturally an expansionist kind of a species, you know.
Yeah.
Who has the
The
biggest helmet, damn it?
The ship
Who
Who's
makes
ruling
it
them?
go?
Kalis has the biggest helmet.
Apparently. The
Like, you
spikiest,
can
maybe.
see- you can see it in these ship designs and that they look like basically Lego pieces that were assembled and that, you know,
Mhm.
which is pretty typical. But I guarantee this is building up to the season finale, and that we're going to find out: is it the Romulans? Is it somebody
Is it
else?
the Tal Shiar?
Yeah. They are name dropped in this episode.
Yeah,
So,
that was
they-
one of my favorite
Hmm.
references.
yeah.
As in, we're not dealing with the.
Yeah. It's great.
So I'll be the bad guy.
The
this week.
Boimler.
This is like, honestly, this might be a really bad hot take, but and I'm not saying it's bad because I don't think there's been a bad episode of this show, but I feel like Haven said it on our Discord, but I feel like, and I think they also say it in their mailbag, but I'm going to say it anyway. There's 15 other episodes of this show that are better than this week's. And
That's how I felt about the Mugato episode.
yeah, right.
Honestly.
And,
That's
and
how I
that
felt
one
when I
grew
first saw
on
that
me.
one.
Yeah, that one grew on me. But this
Ew,
one,
pun intended.
I think I maybe laughed twice. I mean, like I like the story stuff. I love the Packlets, but it just didn't. I don't know. Something just didn't hit well with me in this episode.
It didn't blow you away.
No, it didn't blow me away. And that being said, listen, it's still a really good show. Like I can't wait for next week's episode. This one didn't do it for me.
And I feel like that's the gist of it. That, you know, exciting stuff happens, but doesn't blow you away. And that seems to be like the everyday for the Cerritos.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
this
Yeah.
is basically like the equivalent of Seinfeld in space, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, there weren't huge
Everything-
stakes this episode for them at all. They were like, this is an everyday. I hate that this is a yearly task we have to do.
Yeah. And I know that everybody like really loved the Armis reference and like the end, you know, because, you know, it goes back to Skin of Evil, but I'm just like, I don't know.
That has me
Such-
cracking up,
well,
honestly.
right. Like, and I feel like everybody loved it but me, but like for me, that's such like a low point
deep
for Star
cut.
Trek. Well, it's because of like how that episode was handled, right? Like they killed off Tasha because of stupidity and Rick Berman, and Denise Crosby to this day, like, you know, is not happy about the situation. So like, I don't know. It rubbed me like the wrong way a little bit. You could also interpret it though the other way, being like they're making fun of that moment because at this
They
point,
realize how
just-
stupid it was.
how stupid it was, and it needs to be made fun of. So I can see it. I can see it both ways. But I mean, I loved Ransom and Kayshawn, like looking for like, if anybody is going to lose a Packlet spy, it's going to be crew members from the Cerritos that are
Mhm.
almost as dumb as the Packlets. So, and I love when Kayshawn still, like, the universal translator still
Yep.
doesn't quite get it. So it's like, something about like Shaka when this happened. And it was like, okay, I basically understood all of that.
Exactly.
So
Did he scream out Shaka when he saw
Yeah,
the,
he did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
outside.
It's like, Shaka.
It's so good.
I
get what you're saying about the episode, regarding Armis and that. Still, I love the concept of Armis, and I was glad to see him return.
Yeah.
He is a neat concept, this immortal and that who was just shed off by these creatures left in that. I actually felt sorry for him seeing just sitting on the rock. He's like, I wish I had someone to torment.
But they torment him with their little sending stone, which is from D&D anyway. Like it's so goofy, and they're just like
D&D in the 24th century confirmed. Come on, Britt.
Frank calls in the 24th century.
It's true.
That too. They went back and listened to some past episodes of Jerky Boys.
Captain, we're receiving a subspace signal. Is your refrigerator running?
Touching your staff.
Have you seen Mike
don't even have those
Crotch?
anymore.
Oh God.
Well, you better go catch it. Full impulse.
Let's get into a little bit more of a deep dive of this. And listen, this is subjective and this is more my opinion coming out in my notes, but I'll read it anyway. For me, at least it seems to kind of take a bit of a step back from the progress that I think we all agreed that this crew made in last week's episode, which I know that we all loved. Brad kind of once again, hey, maybe I can get the fast track to promotion again. Joining this, really just gross red shirt group that are very, too good for themselves and
Red Squad 2.0.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it was basically like Mean Girls. He just thought he could join the popular kids to gain status for a hot second.
I think of it like they were basically a cosplay group in that. That's what it felt like.
They seemed like that a lot.
Yeah.
Just
because they weren't fully actually leaders, but they're
I need to learn how to blow something brass.
It's about the look. You got to talk like them. And he's like, do the thing though. And they're like, don't do the thing.
It's all about the shoulders.
What was going on with Boimler? Was that those were padding, right?
It had to be they replicated padding for his
only
suit.
because they were so pointy.
Yeah,
but,
it's like one of those bad Halloween costumes you got when you were a kid in the 90s and you wanted the best Power Ranger costume, except you got the padded one.
Yeah,
or is that just me?
Wow, I had 3 of those.
That brought back some.
I had 3 of
memories.
Those.
Yeah,
I couldn't decide which Ranger to be, so I was like, I will be red, pink, and blue.
Bringing it back. I mean, were you guys okay with him joining them for a little bit? And I think we talked about the fact that he does still see his friends, right? And he still wants to interact with them. This wasn't him fully taking a step back.
Yeah, it seemed like he never really did that because he made the point of saying his friends are awesome. So he never really completely abandoned them. He just wanted to increase his own personal circle and have a few more people around on the ship that he could hang out with. And to that degree, I can kind of understand where that comes from. It just so happens that the red shirts were a bunch of jerks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Except for Jennifer.
But by the end, he still made friends.
And hey, he might have gotten a little girlfriend at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
That sounded like she was asking him out on a date.
Who knows? I mean, she did that whole flirty thing with him when she was trying to explain how the whole
lover. Yeah.
And I was like, ooh, good voice acting. This is great.
Yeah, it was really good voice acting this episode. I mean, it always is, right? But,
yeah, it always is. But there's some moments like that. Like when she went to talk, I was just like, oh, I like this acting choice. Who did they pick for this role?
Yeah. Anybody else on this part before we move on?
I think I just agree with you guys. I never expected him to really be leaving his friends. It was just interesting to see. I like that they're not taking away the fact that he's not ever going to be interested in a leadership position. He still will always be that way because
he wants to be a captain.
Person. Yeah, but it's cool that they showed him try to go not quite the easy way out, but go with this group of people that think they can fast track their way by working together and doing all these things that makes them look like leadership, but they're not actually doing the work of it. So I like that in the end, he realizes well, what me and my friends do all the time is more leadership than what you do. So
yeah,
peace out.
Yeah.
Pretty much agree in that, I like that he wasn't, you see a little bit of growth in him in that. He's not as naive in that. In fact, he sees through them pretty quickly.
Yeah, no, I would agree. David, one of the things that you mentioned earlier was sometimes the on and off, not liking Mariner and then sometimes liking Mariner, and how, sometimes she can be great and sometimes she can be kind of like, put you off. This was kind of another episode where she treats someone not so well. She has some reasons in this one, right? But still, like, her tone isn't great. She treats Tendi in a kind of not so great way, which, like I said, it may have been warranted, but it didn't feel right. And that's kind of been one of the complaints sometimes about this show, is that it like sometimes goes against those Starfleet ideals. And I think that was maybe a bit true this week with how certain characters were being treated, especially the red shirts, who were just like even though they think like they're all about what Starfleet is, everything but. What do you guys think about this? And I really
think that's kind of the point that I was making earlier about how there's more to it than just looking the part.
Right.
And that dude who led the red shirts, he didn't figure that out. You have to do the work. Mm-hmm. But back to Mariner and how sometimes she can sort of act that way. Let's all remember she's been promoted and demoted a bunch of times. That's part of her character. She is a very flawed character. She isn't necessarily the most likable character. Again, this is this is a comedy show. It's a comedy show. So there are going to be character flaws, because if you had like the cast of TNG trying to do a show with jokes at this speed, it wouldn't connect the same, because they're very different characters. And you kind of need these characters to be occasionally a bit imperfect, because otherwise you wouldn't have as many jokes.
True. What about you guys?
So I'm one of those people that, like, throughout the whole series, I've never had a problem with anything Mariner's done, because it's always very in character for her to do. And this episode, it's one of those things where I'd argue that the one that's probably the least in character is Rutherford in all this, because he's the one that's actually complaining more than usual and not into something Tendi's into for once, which is, more unusual. But I mean, Mariner from the beginning is just like, I hate this specific task, like, and it's one of those things that goes with her little anti-authority thing, or the fact that, everybody who is in lower decks does these things and then has them do the work for them. But I think it all goes with the theme that you're talking about, where, like, these shows, they always represent, like, Starfleet ideals, and they're pointing things out to people. And you see that with the red shirts in the end, like, especially when they point to his friends and say, like, they work for Starfleet, we are Starfleet. Like, that was the divide.
And I do love that was the divide. I loved that.
Yes, but that was showing what's wrong. Like, that's not what Starfleet is. Like, that's the whole point of the episode. So the fact that you kept following these two groups and you knew that the way it was set up was not right. They shouldn't have been forced to do this task. These guys get to just walk around all day pretending to be in leadership, and eventually they'll be captains because they didn't do anything. I mean, we know they're not going to end up being captains, because you actually have to earn that, because we've watched all the other Star Trek shows. But I feel like it still went with that theme the whole episode. And Mariner and Rutherford, towards the end, realized how much this was really affecting Tendi, because she cared so much. And especially when they found out that she chose to do this because it was a bonding thing for them all, then they came around and apologized for it. And they even said that if they had known that, it would be different. But I mean, Mariner didn't want to do it to begin with, and then when Tendi kept trying to make things better, she kept making things worse. So she would knock over the jar and something would hit Mariner, and then she got more and more upset. So it's not like anything she did was, out of nowhere, she just wanted to be an asshole to Tendi. It's like stuff kept getting worse and worse and worse the whole episode, and then she kind of like had that moment where she's like, okay, we're done. Like, we're taking a break. We didn't want to do this anyway. I do think it would have been different had Boimler stuck with them, though. If the four of them would have done it together, it would have been more balanced out, because Boimler and Tendi would have been excited. Mariner and Rutherford wouldn't have, but they would have had the dynamics. So, overall, I didn't really mind it, though.
I actually really thought that moment when they, Tendi's going crazy as Scorpa Tendi, that actually has a really good ring to it. And we might need to make some merch with Scorpa Tendi. Hashtag make it happen. Make it happen. I love that moment when all those idiots walk into the bar and they start making their rousing speech. And at first, all of the other characters are looking up at them, and you can see like the stars in their eyes. But the more they go on, they're just like, are you fucking kidding me? Who are these assholes? And finally, Boimler like goes to help, and like Jennifer is like, okay, this is how you do it. And the other girl who I think asked him out on a date is like, yeah. And
You're
they
like,
say,
yeah,
fuck off to
Jennifer.
the other guy. Yeah, I love Jennifer. Yeah, Jennifer stands.
Jennifer's
Thank you.
Ever
Thank
since
you.
that episode where Mariner ran by and move, Jennifer, like we were just like, what the fuck did Jennifer do? Like, we love Jennifer.
Hashtag Jennifer did nothing wrong.
Jennifer did nothing wrong.
Jennifer did nothing wrong.
Not even this episode. She wasn't even really one of those people that was super leading him astray, you know?
Yeah. Hawk, anything on this?
So many. We've covered this quite a bit. I think the ending, when the guy gets his acting captain promotion and that, and gets the captain's chair for that whole 10 seconds and that.
10 seconds.
That was really kind of the icing on the top of this little lesson in that, he can project all he wants and that, and kiss ass and get his promotions and that. At the end of the day, he's still going to wind up cleaning shit out of an airlock.
That's the truth.
What
Go
was
clean
that?
airlock
That
17.
airlock?
The Packlet did something unspeakable in there.
Oh,
Yikes.
imagine having to clean up Packlet poo. No,
Can you imagine
There was
Packlas in the holodeck?
Oh God.
Did you guys
Oh, God.
notice there was a lot of references to Packlets and shit in this episode? And
There were so many references. I couldn't keep up.
Yeah.
Like Freeman on the planet, she's like, this is not going to be a big brown stain on my record.
That's right. Let's actually talk about Carol real quick, because she was on the planet with Shax trying
Captain Janeway.
Captain Janeway of the Enterprise. She's trying to negotiate some peace talks with the Packleds, and I don't even think they knew like what that meant. But that's beyond the point. Where do you guys think? Like, I think Mike McMahon's talked about how the Packleds are the quote unquote big bad of the season. Do you think this is going anywhere past this episode? Are we seeing the Packleds again, or is this like Revolution and now it's on to bigger and better things?
I feel like they're just going to keep showing up. They're like,
I think the Packlids don't like this Enterprise at all. And I think they will eventually find a way to make another ship go and go after this Enterprise. Also, there was that thing that the Packlid spy mentioned about, spoilers, the bomb on
Proven
Earth.
bomb. Yeah, bomb. Yep.
Bomb.
I think that was put out there with good reason.
Agreed. Yeah. Were you going to say something, Hawk? Sorry.
I'm trying to think where to go with this. Yes, I think someone's pulling the Packlets strings. I think we're not gonna find out to the season finale. Oh God. Sorry, I lost my train of thought.
it's all good.
That's okay. Yeah, we'll see where the Packlets go. We need more Packlet parties, though.
Yeah.
Can we quickly talk about, even though it's going to be in the Easter egg hunt, like the fact that he got a hat and a shirt from the gift shop?
Yes.
It's like, if you're going to be a spy, just kill him with kindness. Give him a shirt. Give him a hat.
Right.
Give him a pin. I was on board the Cerritos. Love it.
I love that he was out in space and survived.
Yes. Yeah. Tiana always having to drop in her like, what the fuck? How is he even alive?
She literally had one line in this episode and still stole the scene. Like, I love her character so much.
She's amazing.
He is strong.
Oh,
He's strong.
How about his line at the end after he woke up? Can I have your codes now?
You're
Yeah.
super. Get him out of here.
I want to see your warp core.
Let's get into the Easter egg hunt. David, you hit it first. Anything that you caught in this episode?
That's really tough with Lower Decks because they
so
managed to cram so much. Shaka.
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 Yes.
Yep. Who else has got stuff? We can keep going around.
I just love the first one that I really laughed at was when they were like, well, he's no Tel Shiar. And I was like,
I mean, this is stupid, but it's still an Easter egg. The fact that the group is called Red Shirts.
The red shirts.
yeah,
Just
for sure.
different connotation this time.
I had a lot of trouble in this episode picking out any Easter eggs and that. I was even looking up, like, see if that Ataxian emotion cube that she was holding that turned her into the Scorpion was something. I still don't know. The only thing I caught was Boimler on the stage and that. Did you guys check out the lights?
No.
I don't remember.
There were 5.
lights. That's amazing.
Oh, okay, got it.
Good catch. Good
Yeah, I was trying to
catch.
remember. It was when he was giving the speech and stuff. Okay.
This episode has a Stan Lee reference when
Excelsior.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
When the idiot guy goes, yeah, Excelsior.
Greetings, true believers.
Yes. The Enterprise D bridge.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
He
There.
pictures it, or
Yep.
he's doing a speech.
Did anybody here recognize what those goggles may have been from? Was that from something?
I figured it was probably from something, but I don't know.
Twitch,
What
let
about
us
the broken
know.
Sword?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the broken sword.
The broken sword. I don't know what that's from either. The children's book, though, isn't that from that episode of TOS?
The one
Where
with that-
the characters
that
come
planet.
to life? Yeah. And Kirk is like imagining Finnegan. Isn't it that episode?
It could
Am I
be.
completely wrong?
I know there's some sort of reference. It seems so familiar, especially like the opening up the children's book and seeing the images come to life.
Yeah.
That came from somewhere.
Reading Rainbow. Take a look. It's in a book.
But you don't have to take my word for it.
Nope. Haven goes, that book might be Flounder from Voyager. It's been a bit. I'm not quite familiar with that, but I think it's that, Giraffe would know if she were here. I feel like that's such a TOS thing. I feel like it's TOS, but maybe I'm wrong. And then that's all I had this week. There weren't a ton of Easter eggs.
Well, I feel like it was all verbal. Like, it's usually easier when it's stuff you see in the background or whatever, but I would have to rewatch the episode and write it down. But there were a lot of moments where they would say something and I was like, oh, okay, I got that. But then it just kept going so fast.
I do have to say I was wrong on a theory about this episode that we'd be going back to like that TNG episode in season 7 Genesis, and that's why Tendi is a scorpion. Like she reverted back to like some like primordial form. Yeah, that obviously wasn't
Like
the
going
case.
warp
that's
10,
it.
but backwards.
Yeah, but
Yep.
backwards. That's right.
Lizard
I
babies.
started to wonder if Orion's maybe had evolved from some sort of an insect race.
Maybe.
I
love
just assumed something weird happened to her and it turned her into a scorpion.
Lexi goes,
That
oh,
too.
Genesis.
Oh, Genesis.
Yeah,
And
that's
it all comes back to Sonic again.
It really does. Sega Genesis.
Let's rate this episode out of 10 Pack-led helmets. David, as our guest, you're first.
I am going to give this episode a solid, fun Packlet helmets, which is roughly translating to about 8 or so.
Okay.
We'll give that an 8.
Valid.
Brittany.
I feel like I've been giving all the episodes like 10 out of 10 this season, so this is the one that I would give like a 7 or an 8. I guess 8, because like I enjoyed it. It was what I needed to see this week, and like I still have a moment every single episode of Lower Decks, like you mentioned, where I was just like, I really love this show. And there's always like there's one line or one moment where I'm just like, I'm so glad the show exists, and that happened in this episode, so can't complain. 8 out of 10.
Yeah, Twitch, also give us your ratings as well. Hawk.
I gotta agree with my co-host here in that it's a solid episode. It's an 8 to an 8.5. Packlet helmets, not big helmets.
Big.
I love
Biggest
how
helmet.
they in their separations of their A plots and B plots, and that there is such common threads flowing throughout, and that I like Carol and Shaxx down on the surface, and that purporting to be what Starfleet is supposed to be, Captain Wise, and that in order to do the dirty work, versus like the theater troupe and that pretending to be captains and that, and our lower deckers and that who actually know how to do the dirty work.
Mhm.
Solid story writing. 8
Right.
to 8.5.
They know what they're doing with
okay.
the narrative and characterization.
Joe on Twitch gives it an 8. Haven gives it out of Packlet helmets to 1 Lego helmet. I guess. I don't know if that's a bad rating or not.
But is it a big Lego helmet?
Yeah, is it
That's
a
the
big
question.
Lego? We'll have to figure out what they meant by 1 Lego helmet. That's all the ratings on Twitch. I'm gonna give it a 6.5, 6.5 Pack-led helmets. It was good. It was fun. It just wasn't
not your fave.
not my cup of
Didn't quite click.
No, didn't click. Not my cup of Ractigino. So
If it's not a good Tendi episode, Julian will not give it a 10. Just gonna throw that out there. It would never get a 10 if it's not it's got to be also like amazing and a good Tendi episode.
I'm trying to like think if you're wrong about that, and I just don't think that you are. I think you're absolutely right.
I know you as a person because you relate to that character. It's like
I love her.
If there's episodes where Mariner's not doing too well, I'm just like, oh damn, I'm hurt personally.
That's me and Boimler, 100%.
Yeah. Oh, you're a Boimler stan.
I'm a Boimler guy.
So maybe a little jealous that Jennifer didn't ask Boimler out on the date instead of the other.
I'm just glad that Bradword got a little bit of attention.
Yeah,
I'm rooting for him.
Yeah. I think it's good to root for old Bradword, but not William, that son of a bitch. William. Hopefully we're gonna see him in the next few episodes.
It'd be funny if we did.
What if it's William that's controlling the pack lids?
That would be amazing.
That would be epic. That would be epic.
Oh,
It's time to get to our subspace poll and mailbag. Why is my button not pressing? Let me try that again. It's time to get to our subspace poll and mailbag.
Hailing frequencies are open.
There it is. And we asked you this week what you thought about this episode. Plain and simple. We're in the back half of the season. So what did you think? 52% of you said Pack-led strong, which is good. 17 said a decent spy, which is okay, decent. 24% said, and I was among this crowd, find me in the gift shop, because one, I would be in the gift shop no matter what. And
exactly.
Two, it's just, yeah. And then 7% said a lower decks anomaly.
Even if I was in Starfleet, I would for sure buy things from the gift shop.
Well, it's like I would buy
that's very Boimler.
Yeah.
That's very Boimler.
But like, it would just be so cool. Like, who wouldn't? Like, that's like how the disco crew have the disco shirt, you know? And you're just like, okay, but where's my workout shirt?
So I'm one of those people that any city I go to, I have to collect the Starbucks mug from that city. I would be like the Starship mug collector. I'd get like my Enterprise and my Titan and my Excelsior.
But wait, this one's the retrofit.
Yep. Have to.
Are there any where like they didn't pull out the two nacelles come out?
That would be
a third nacelle.
Really awesome.
The show has an odd sense of
get something from Deep Space Nine, but it's a plate set instead of a mug.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was just thinking of Tendi and Rutherford and the models.
Like that.
Yeah, the models. There are model sets probably from the gift shop.
Quarks. There's got to be a quark section in every gift shop.
Who wants our first? Yeah. Who wants our first mailbag?
I'll take this one.
All right, hit it.
So Haven wrote, last week during Star Trek Day, show creator Mike McMahon stated that the second half would be some of the best episodes ever of Lower Decks. But I would say that out of the 16 episodes that have aired to date, there are 15 that I would rank ahead of this one. The only time I actually laughed was the Armis scene, but mostly because I recently saw a tweet interaction, screenshot of tweet, with an account that is associated with Armis and Denise Crosby. I know each series has the best episodes and the worst, but usually they aren't back to back. Like, imagine putting Best of Both Worlds on, and then the very next week, instead of Family, we get Shades of Grey. Last week, we had my personal favorite, which I rated a perfect score, and now I would rate this as bottom of the barrel. So I'd rate it 1 star, but I don't think it deserves that higher rank.
I feel like 1 is like harsh.
It's
giving it
very
the 0.
I was going to say, I would argue that you always have to put a really good episode with a kind of meh episode.
I would agree.
To balance it out, because that is truly the best of both worlds.
Ooh.
Can't have it all.
Ooh. Do I have another
Shades
pun
of
button?
A great pun?
Nice.
Maybe.
I think this one still
We're
works
all
for you.
family here.
Just shut up.
There it is.
I did all 3 episodes. Look at me.
Good.
Nicely done.
David, do you want to have your hand at a mailbag?
Joe wrote, I may have been in a good mood when I watched it, but I've really enjoyed this episode. I would say it is a middle of the road episode, but still a great Lower Decks. P.S. I loved them. Frank calling Armis. Amen. That was so funny to me. I absolutely loved it.
Great callback.
Brittany, you want to take Fernandez?
Sure. This one was not my favorite this season. That was last week's. However, it is not my least favorite either. That was Mugato. This literally sounds like me 3 weeks ago.
Don't
Overall,
like Mugato.
you're right. Mugato. Gumato? What? Huh? Overall, I think this one scores in the mid-bottom. Downs, I thought the Packlids were just too forced and the plot of trash picking went longer than it should. Ups, I think it was a nice character growth for Boimler, finding his own command style and not afraid of being silly. He will make a fine captain one day.
To be a captain, you have to learn to not be afraid to be silly.
Yeah,
exactly. Every captain has a silly as fuck episode.
That's true.
And you know it.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep. I'll take Lexi's. As someone who's low-key obsessed with Skin of Evil, I am here for all the Armus references. TNG Venom just needs a hug. I like that reference.
TNG Venom.
That was very good. Do we want to just go back in a circle? I think this might be the last one. Yeah, Hawk, why don't you just take SMKs and we'll get this thing going.
Wrapped. SMK wrote his episode. Is that supposed to be this?
This episode.
Yeah, I think I forgot to copy the T. That's my bad.
No worries. This episode. Oh, wait. There we go. This episode hit me in the right mood. I enjoyed Boimler's ending, telling the red shirts to stuff it and be themselves. I enjoyed Tendi's emotional armor as an allegory. And I really appreciated Boimler helping Tendi by just being silly and making her laugh. The best part of friendship is often the silly, ridiculous times that only your friends can make happen. These four characters really are at their best when they are together, and the story shows us that again. Also, prank calling Armus rules. I enjoyed the red shirts intro to Boimler and his reaction of, never mind, that name is fine, reaction to the low-key hanging fruit obvious joke. Finally, I had a serious laugh out loud moment when the Kazinti ensign bent over in full TAS glory and then stood back up.
Nice.
Amazing.
Yeah. I have to say, I love the fact that this crew and probably everyone in Starfleet does know that wearing a red shirt back in like the 2022, 23s.
Those old scientists.
Yeah, those old scientists, that was bad news if you were wearing a red shirt. You probably weren't going to survive. And I love that they know that. And that's kind of like this canon thing now.
It's so great.
It's great. That's going to do it for our show, guys. Before we do go, David, please, time to plug away. Tell us where we can find you. Tell us where we can find Promenade Merchants, all the fun stuff.
Well, if you feel so inclined, you can listen to the Promenade Merchants podcast with myself and Heather Kirby in your podcatcher of choice, and follow the podcast on Twitter at PromTrekPod. Also, I do a bunch of other podcasts, Record Breakers for Music. Stay tuned, coming very soon, the Open Door Wrestling podcast, where me and my buddy, the Subtle Doctor, talk about pro wrestling. What else do I do? Sports Odds and Ends, where I produce a sports show for my two friends, Brandon and JVZ. And again, you can follow me on Twitter at CallMeDJM. I like podcasts. I like talking. I like Star Trek. I make puns too.
Yeah.
Yep.
We might have to have a pun off one day. It could be really
know.
Clearly, Brittany is a pungent master. I give full respect.
It's very nice and refreshing to have somebody else who will pun along with me. For these guys, when they do it, it's forced and they're usually reluctantly pun, but you were willing.
So before we go, because I am going to answer this question on the show since we are live on Twitch and there are two very major wrestling fans on the show and me and David. Haven asks, which is better, AEW or WWE?
I'll put it this way. WWE has never been my favorite wrestling company, and I've been a wrestling fan for nearly 30 years.
Good answer. If you're a wrestling fan and you like wrestling, AEW is your show. I mean, just go back and watch All Out from 2 weeks ago, and that's all you need to know. And I'll leave it at that.
Watch this Wednesday's
This Wednesday's Dynamite was like fire. It was so good. AEW is the needle is moving. It's awesome. I can't wait to hear your wrestling show, man. That's awesome. I got goosebumps. Awesome. And Lexi, in true Lexi form, to end the show, says the answer to that question is the Remans, and that is where we will leave it. Join us directly following this show on our Discord channel and Lexi is about to scream, I wish I could hear her, for a watch along of TNG Season 1, Skin of Evil, because we have to. So
I was expecting it to be a Packlet episode.
Yeah. Maybe next week. David, thank you so much for joining us tonight. This was so much fun. An absolute pleasure to have you on. For
Pleasure is
Brittany,
mine.
for Hawk, I
It
am
was a
Julian.
major honor.
Oh, a major.
Oh,
Get off
slide
my
into that
bridge.
DM one last time.
Get out of here.
You are welcome on the Promenade Merchants podcast anytime.
I'm gonna cry. I love the promenade.
Live long and prosper, guys. Majram. Good night.
Walk with the prophets, everybody.
Thanks for beaming into our podcast today. If you want to keep the hailing frequencies open, you can subscribe on Apple and Google Podcasts, YouTube, and Spotify. Like what you hear? Put in a good word with Starfleet and leave us a 5-star review.